Tēnā koutou. Okay, so just looking at this piece on the work of He Tuhinga Aronui, reported on Radio Wātea. It's a very interesting piece, and I just want to go back to my article in He Tuhinga Aronui, believe it or not, from 1999. I mean, how far back can you go? creak. But there you go. I wrote a piece called Ka hao te kupenga hiko, and of course that's a reference back to Ko Puteruha Ka hao te ranatahi, and the late John Waititi's Maori grammar, Maori learning materials. So if you go to what's being said here, and taking it back to what I was getting at then, I was trying to ground. I'm quite interested, actually, looking back on that article at the bibliography, because it's quite an extensive bibliography, actually, and it's quite odd. It's quite odd looking back on it to 1999, because of course I'm looking at several things which I took to be taking the marae and seeing how grounded it was in those days, and it still is. And of course this seems to be what Pikuhuia's work is about as well, in the locality and in the immediate context of immediate physical context of Aotearoa, and saying that actually now we're in an electronic age. We're talking about the internet and cyberspace, and of course back in 1999 Facebook wasn't there, so the idea of Pukamata, Ngati Pukamata and so forth wasn't really applicable, but I am talking about it. I'm talking about precisely this, actually, and there's several things that I was preoccupied with then that don't seem to be in the news article. One was the idea of dualism, that you have Maori v Pākehā in Aotearoa, in this sort of closed bubble, so to speak, and that being broken apart and opened up, and Maori standing with respect to the world, to a multiplicity of interests and people. And of course I've got a quote from Zygmunt Bauman at the beginning, talking about that, and also talking about the work of Castells and other theorists at the time. Castells' 3 volumes on the information age, for example. So what I was doing then, I think actually refers directly to this news item, but it also has these other points of reference, which were, I guess, contextual. I guess in 1999 they were the things that were striking me. That was one of them. The other one being that the move to symbolic capital was interesting for me, and that's such symbolic capital being to do with the fisheries. And I'd been involved as a marker in various other things with theses on the fisheries, and I was fascinated with ITQs and the idea that you could take a landlocked tribe, actually, in Aotearoa, and there are various of them, Ngati Whare, Tūhoe, various other landlocked tribes, where through the fisheries were being given, and the talk was that they were being given at that time, and it has actually transpired that they were being given transferable quota. And that transferable quota meant that we were talking about an abstract situation which was international. So it was an abstract international situation, which I felt corresponded to the internationalization of the internet and cyberspace, and the movement to a multiplicity of interests again across the world. So Maori in 1999, I felt, were being asked to join in symbolic capital situations around the world, being asked to join the internet and cyberspace, and I felt that there was a breakthrough happening then, and I've said so in He Tuhinga Aronui, and it's I think the article is probably important because of its bibliography. That's the first thing I mentioned earlier, and one of the things I mentioned earlier, and its contextualization in that bibliography of where Maori research on the situation of the Maori was proceeding. I also think that these matters of being locked, particularly the idea of being locked in to a local grounding, is very, very important, really important, and the whole idea of the sovereignty situation, the sovereignty game, whatever you want to call it, where the duality of Māori v Pākehā was being exploded, I felt, I think is also important. And I think too, that's not talked about in the Radio Wātea piece, so I don't want to sort of put words into that piece, but I do think that these things that I was talking about in 1999 and have been talking about since, of course, in my book Te Rāngai, I'm on a Māori, the Māori state and so forth. I've developed those ideas since then. You're with Peter Cleave.